Morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Tuesday. It is March break. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, and we're doing things a little different. This is an extra large episode that you may have noticed because it was scheduled as an extra large episode. And today it's extra large because we're starting with Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010, and then we're going to slide right into a regular Q&A for an hour. So really, you have us for an hour and a half today, and we have some things to talk about. And they're interesting. I'm fascinated by them. In just a few moments, we're going to start, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to sip some water. Q,
Moderators get OT time today.
You definitely use my badge. If you'd be so kind, hit that screen and show us that you care, and then we will be able to promote this live to the rest of the planet and share, because it's all about sharing. Sharing is caring. Where are my reading glasses? That's what I'm doing. Going, dead air so I can get my reading glasses because I did not prepare. All right. Yes, my routine is messed up. What are we talking about? We've got a bunch of things, and we're going to get into the regular bits and bolts because we only have 60 seconds till we're live. So we'll wait. We'll wait and talk to Jerry first, and then we'll do all the things we normally do. But we've got lots happening. We have a traffic safety campaign.
All right, 30 seconds away. Stand by. Let's have a great show.
Thanks, Nick. That was Nick. Okay. I'm also pulling up some information that I want to talk about.
Can I be Nick Jr. instead of him being their version of Q?
Would you rather be? If you prefer me to
I'll
call
be
you
M because my last name is Myra.
Hey, it works.
Oh, it's too funny. Nick has his own podcast. Do we plug Nick's podcast right now? He's got a podcast, and it's actually, I shouldn't say it's not
Jerry
just a
Agar
podcast. It goes
on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Always happy to have a visit with the TikTok traffic cop, Sean Shapiro, traffic safety programs, traffic operations, does a regular broadcast on TikTok talking traffic issues and joins us once in a while. We'll do a one-segment version of it today. Sean Shapiro, good morning.
Good morning, Jerry. Good to be back.
Well, good to have you. So the Toronto Police Services has a press release out in partnership with Accident Support Services International Limited. Will be expanding the current collision reporting center model to offer pedestrians and cyclists a third option. And this is a kiosk for pedestrians and cyclists to report accidents. Is this just an extension, Sean, of automobile drivers are always wrong and pedestrians and cyclists are pretty much next to God?
No, I'd say that it's just a way of making life a little bit easier for the people who need to make reports and were otherwise being sent all the way to the east or all the way to the north. And now they can stay centralized, use transportation that's easily accessible to make the report, to make everybody happy. But
that's not going to happen.
Well, maybe not, but it's a convenience thing. It is a lot more convenient to get around, and we'll see lots of smiling faces or not so smiling faces when they come through to report their collisions. But it is unfair. These other locations are difficult to get to if you are a cyclist in the downtown core, and now you're going to be taking a taxi or calling a friend if you don't drive. So this is going to be a lot easier for a lot of people, and for that purpose, and it's only for cyclists and pedestrians. Everybody else who's driving a motor vehicle will still have to go to one of the other locations to make a report, but they have vehicles. They can do that.
Okay. What I was referring to is you said make everybody happy. That's what I said.
I gotcha.
You'll never make everybody happy. You could give everybody in Ontario $1 million, and somebody would go, "Well, why is it only $1 million?" That's how life works.
It doesn't matter what you do. You can't make everybody happy, but we'll try small steps, baby steps.
All right. Well, it's March break, annual March break traffic safety campaign. What does that mean?
Well, we're trying to draw attention to the fact that we have vulnerable road users, that people are dying on our roads on a regular basis. In fact, over the last 10 years, we've seen over 600 deaths on our roadways. 345 of those were pedestrians. So there's obviously an issue. The pedestrians are represented there, and it's driver behavior that puts people at risk. We talk about Vision Zero in the city of Toronto, and it's an acknowledgement that minor collisions, they're going to happen. There's no way around it. But the ones that lead to serious injury and death are preventable and unacceptable. And we want to stop people from dying on our roads.
Well, admire the goal, but I don't accept your premise. I mean, I drive and I walk in the city. And let me tell you, some of the pedestrians are entitled, oblivious, and just downright stupid. And they don't know what the law is and they don't care.
And that's part of what we're doing here online with our social media presence, trying to educate everyone, pedestrians, cyclists, every road user, including cars. And as much as the pedestrians may at times create situations that are not favorable, motorists are the big target because it's the high-speed drivers, the drivers that are aggressively driving, the ones that are impaired or distracted. They still represent a large component of the reasons these things are happening. We're not saying that someone who walks into the middle of traffic and gets hit isn't at fault. We're saying that there's ways to prevent and reduce injury.
Yeah, some of those people, of course, are on their phone, and they're looking at the phone and they just step out. I mean, it's unbelievable. Here's a question from a listener. If I witness somebody blowing through a red light, do I have an obligation to call the police?
You don't have an obligation. If you want to, certainly contact us, you can. And there's even a form that you can use that's available online so that you don't end up waiting for an hour on hold for something that isn't going to be a police response immediately. You can go to www.torontopolice.on.ca/CORE. And on that, you can there's a bunch of different things you can do. You can report minor criminal offenses. You can report parking situations. But the one that I'm talking about is a specific report of a vehicle where you have a license plate and a description. You can make that report. An officer will get a case assigned to them. There will be follow-up and investigation, and at least then, if that makes you makes you more comfortable, knowing that action's being taken, that'll work. And it's not just that we're going to forget about it. We actually contact the registered owner, let them know what happened.
All right. There's no charge you can lay, though.
In certain situations where there's dash cam footage that identifies a driver and a location and it's clear and concise, it's possible, but it's unlikely because more often than not, dash camera footage doesn't identify the driver, and that's required for the charges laid by police. It's different than dash cam or red light cameras and speed cameras because those are actually related to different charges that don't require identity of the driver.
All right, we're with Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop, and here's Rich from Toronto. What's your question, Rich?
Okay,
Rich?
So my question is a U-turn legal unless otherwise signed? Because you see the ones that say it's permitted, some signs say it's not permitted, and then you just have no signs at all. So is it legal to make a U-turn?
Generally speaking, yes, it's permitted as long as it's safe to do so. So when you take it upon yourself, if you make a U-turn somewhere and it results in a collision, then you're going to be responsible for that. There's a couple of areas where you cannot do it: in front of a bridge, viaduct, tunnel, railway crossing, curve, crest of grade. There's a whole bunch of places that are absolutely prohibited, regardless of sign. But otherwise, you can make a U-turn as long as it's safe to do so and there's no sign present.
Do you have to do that at an intersection and go in and around, or could I do it just in the middle of the block because there's nobody coming from the other way and I made a mistake and missed an intersection, so I just turn around?
If you can do it safely, you could do it mid-block. That's not a problem. But if you do see a sign, you're prohibited from doing a U-turn for 150 meters beyond that sign.
All right. And here's a follow-up to what you and I were talking about with this new reporting center for pedestrians and cyclists. Somebody writes in, Sean, the problem here is the police are 100% focused on policing cars, but not pedestrians and bicycles.
Well, that's not exactly accurate because I can say from my time on the road, I'm not on the road right now, but when I was on the road, I laid charges when the pedestrian was responsible for the collision. I laid charges when a cyclist was responsible for a collision. So it's the truth is there's more cars than anything else, and we see violations everywhere. But when we see it taking place where a pedestrian or a cyclist is at fault, we address those as well. It really is about each case being independent, and we always go where the evidence takes us.
Someone writes in a text message here, is it distracted driving if you have your dog on your lap?
It's not distracted driving, but it is careless driving. It could also be drive while crowded.
Drive while crowded?
Yeah, you can't do it. It's interfering with your ability to operate a motor vehicle safely. So if you have a pet, they're best off in the back seat. They should be tethered or crated. If you are going to have them in the front seat, no problem. The front passenger seat, but not your lap. Bad things happen when collisions happen and airbags explode and there are puppies in between you and the bad things happen.
Yeah, but what if I know I'm drunk and I think the dog can drive better than I can?
You're seeing eye dog for drunk drive. I don't even know how this is going, but no.
He knows the way home.
Great.
Yeah, I see that though, and I have less concern about whether or not it's safe. And just think, if you have an accident or something, I mean, is the seatbelt going to stop you quickly enough? Depends on the size of the dog, I guess. You could crush that dog into the steering wheel.
Yeah, chances are you're going to crush and kill the dog. Parts of that dog might become part of you. There's a lot of potential harm that can go. Additionally, even if that dog somehow doesn't get injured in the collision, if they're not tethered and the window's broken and you're not able to help them, what if they get out the window? They get run over by a car after the collision. Like, there's so many what ifs. That's why tethering a dog or an animal of any kind is so important for their safety and yours. They become a projectile within the vehicle. So it's all about caring for them as much as it is following the rules and being safe.
What are people asking about on TikTok this morning, Sean?
Good question, because we sort of started with you instead of going to them, but we do have a ton of them. Let me.
Okay.
Can I drink and drive in a Tesla with autopilot? No, no, you cannot. But many people ask this and think that autopilot is this total autonomous vehicle setting, and it's not. You have to be sober. You have to be paying attention. You can't be using your cell phone. So alcohol still remains a criminal charge, along with drug impairment, even if you have a Tesla.
Yeah, well, and you also can't go sit in the passenger seat and just let the thing drive you around.
That would be stunt driving, because you have to be behind the wheel of a car. Yeah, and that vehicle is set up to constantly check on you and make sure you're paying attention. So if you're not there to hold the wheel when it gives you an alert and give you kind of a positive feedback, then it's going to stop functioning properly.
Sean Shapiro is the TikTok traffic cop. That's what I call him, but he's actually PC Sean Shapiro, Traffic Safety Programs, Traffic Operations, and he's with you every morning around this time on TikTok at Traffic Services, and we dip in every week or so for a conversation. Always appreciate it. Thanks very much.
It's always a pleasure. See you soon.
Yeah. Did you ever quit your job and then think, yeah, I maybe shouldn't have done that, and decided to go back and ask for your own job back? How did that go?
Slide. There we go. We're back out of the Jerry segment. We were just doing a single with him today. Let me close off my window here. But we were talking about stuff that was important, because there are so many cyclists and pedestrians that are involved with in collisions that were otherwise requiring us to or requiring them to go off to different areas to make reports. So that's going to be a lot easier now that we have a reporting center at 9 Hanna, and you can start that report online at the accsupport.com website. So that is new, and that is cool. Other things is just, we didn't talk about it on the air, and we should have. I kept thinking there was one thing I wanted to talk about, and that is we still go to collisions and still do complete reports on location where the collision occurred if the cyclist or pedestrian stays at scene. So you don't have to go to a collision reporting center if you're willing to wait for police to attend. But there are times when people realize after the fact that they want to make the report, or that the collision was more serious than they thought, and that is when this system comes into play and really is fantastic. So I'll have to talk to Jerry again. We're going to be on with him next week again, and we'll bring it up again to discuss it, because that was one point that was tipping my tongue the whole time, and we never went there, because he started talking about seeing drinking eye dogs. Well, I don't know what he came up with something. It was that was being Jerry. Are you Sgt Murray Campbell is sitting off in a distance with a remote microphone, and is going to join us. Good morning, Sarge.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Sergeant Campbell.
Good morning.
He really threw me for a loop in his comments. Jerry's awesome. We have a question about rolling coal to start us off. What is the fine for rolling coal? I don't know specifically if it's just going to be, this is where you dump too much diesel into the system, and it's an Environmental Protection Act situation. I think there's no set fine.
I do believe so. I do believe you're correct. Plus, there's an HTA fine for it, as well as excessive smoke.
So there you go. And that would probably be about $110. That's the de facto amount after victim fine surcharge is applied. And so to answer your question, we think it's $110 for the too much smoke. And then according to Q, who did some googly goo, the Ministry of Environment says diesel vehicles producing visible emissions could be $305 to $1,000 as a range.
We've lost our ability to speak.
Yes, it's gone. It's finished. It's over. Let's see what's going on here in chat. We have Brent Perry, morning Sean from Belleville. Akela Draconis says, greetings and salutations. I'm here, but I have a pie hangover. Akela, how much pie did you have on Pie Day? That is, it's a serious thing, but okay, hang on a sec. I need to take these cans off for 1 second. I need to switch to my reading glasses.
Do you have suggestions for a lone female driver
that didn't happen
being followed?
Yes, now I have the zoom lenses are activated. Can I pass a snowplow? is a question coming in from TikTok. It is always advised that you do not, because it's not a safe practice. There's no specific law under the HTA that we're aware of that says you can't. But that doesn't mean you should. And if you were to do that and cause a collision, it would be your fault. So don't do that. There's a reason the plows are out there. They're adding either brine or salt or some kind of mixture to the roads to make it safer and for you. Like they're trying to protect you. And then if you pass them and you slide out, and then it's bad. It's just generally bad.
Sean, just before you had your headphones off, Q had a question.
Oh, Q the question.
Yeah.
Q the question.
Okay. What advice do you have for an alone female driver who's being followed?
Oh, this is actually an interesting and good question. If you have concerns for your safety, you have a lot of options. You can call police. You're allowed to call police in an emergency situation if you're in fear of your safety. That would be a good reason. And you can get direction from a dispatcher as to what the next steps are, whether they dispatch a police officer. That'll come out in terms of what your call and your location and so on. But you can also drive to a nearby police station. It's always a good option. And if you don't know where a police station is, you can even use voice commands for your GPS in most cases. Take me to a police station. You can call police and ask for directions. That way, there are options. Worst case scenario, you could go to a populated place. And if there was, if you were more concerned than trying to find the closest police station, somewhere else that's populated. And don't get out of your car necessarily. You want to continue on the phone trying to get help. But what else would you suggest?
Well, one of the, it could be that the police are actually following you, observing you, watching the way you're driving, maybe gathering some evidence. Maybe they think you're impaired. A police officer will have a way to stop you on the road. They will carry identification if somebody was to come up to you. And if you feel scared while somebody's coming up and you don't believe it's a police officer, there's always the 911 number. Call, and the person who answers the phone will know where the police officer is and if they're actually on a traffic stop right now. So they can confirm it for you.
When we initiate a traffic stop, not only does our system notify dispatch that we've activated our lights and sirens, and then additionally, we mark ourselves and we put your license plate into the system. There's a whole bunch of things that happen to notify everybody so we're all on the same page. So if you say, hi, I'm driving a blue Chevy and I'm stopped at this because there's police behind me, yeah, they can put two and two together very quickly to let you know. But that's I wasn't even going there where we're making the assumption it was a police stop. I was thinking just randomly being followed. Other things in terms of if you think you're being followed, to sort of confirm your suspicions, make some turns, not erratic, dangerous turns, but make some turns that are not your normal way. So if you were traveling on the way home, you could make a turn to go somewhere other than home and make a couple of weird turns that don't make sense. If that person's still on your tail, that might be an indicator that your suspicions were right.
Yep. And you know what? Returning home is probably not the best idea if you have some concerns. Stay on main roads as opposed to secondary roads where you may get blocked in.
Sure. Know where you're going before you just randomly choose to make a turn, because you may end up in a dead-end situation. What do you do when someone... Oh, before I do that, in case you are coming in late to the party, there's about 400 people in the room right now who may not have been here, half an hour ago when we started. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, where we answer your traffic and police questions live for an hour, but today it's an hour and a half. We started at 9:30. We're going right to 11. Joining me off camera but on air is Sgt Murray Campbell. He's a supervisor here, the Pound Sergeant, a media relations officer, a man of many talents. And we are here to answer your questions. So if you've got them, use the Q&A section of either TikTok right now, but soon we'll be going live with Instagram right at 10 o'clock. And then we will also have the opportunity, you have the opportunity, if you want to watch us on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you can use the comment section there to ask us questions. So Linda jumped in with a good morning. Sarah says, good morning, everyone. And didn't see you on Instagram. She's coming in through Facebook. That's right. Because we only have an hour to transmit or broadcast on Instagram, because we don't have the verification yet, we wanted to make sure we didn't lose you. We didn't know how long we'd go with our regular or with our Jerry segment, so we waited. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit live right now on Instagram. And apparently we are now live. I probably should have hit the settings so my forehead wouldn't glow because of the over. Anyway, I can't help it. I'm going to glow. I'm going to glow. Okay. questions can't be answered after 5. Okay. Why haven't the public be educated on roundabouts? Why haven't the public? So roundabouts are an interesting thing. They are said to be far safer, and in many respects they are. In other countries, they work magically, and people are used to them. And as you're very correct in saying, they are less common here, and people tend to get very confused. So we have done videos on them in the past, and we'll do more videos on them in the future. But the deal is, when you're entering a roundabout, you're just driving into the roundabout. You have to yield to traffic already in the roundabout, and you need to signal out of the roundabout. And that's based on some great advice from our friend, the safe driver, Scott Marshall, who's a driving instructor extraordinaire. I like adding those words, extraordinaire. He actually teaches driving instructors to be driving instructors. And we don't see Ryan Pinn, who's also a driving instructor in Nova Scotia. I wonder if there's more roundabouts in Nova Scotia. I digress. What is the fine for passing someone on the shoulder? Passing on the shoulder. Somebody really wants to get hold of me. And I don't know who that is, but I can't answer them right now because we are live. Okay. Let us see what we can say. I think it's $110, but I'm guessing. So let me turn down the ringer as I ignore people and let them go to voicemail. We have... Okay. We have pass on right. Just normally I don't go into these. Let's see if I can find it very quickly. Pass, no, that's not. Why is it a muffler?
Pass on right. That's something I know about.
Oh, did you know the fine offhand? That was what we were looking
It is
for.
110.
Oh, my guess was correct.
And you know what? You are actually allowed to do it. There is an exemption that's in place if the vehicle in front of you has come to a complete stop, has signaled its intention to make a left turn, and the roadway, the paved portion of the roadway, is wide enough for you to pass the vehicle on the right.
So when they say shoulder, it's okay if it's a paved shoulder, but not a gravel shoulder.
That is correct. It has to be a paved portion of the roadway.
Cool. I don't see that here very often, where people mount the curb or go into the show. We don't have a lot of unpaved shoulders in Toronto.
Right. Secondary roads, back roads with gravel shoulders, you can't do that.
But you can pass, and a lot of people grew up, and myself included, thinking it was against the law to pass on the right, even on a multi-lane highway, and that's not the case. You can certainly overtake a vehicle by changing lanes and continuing along your way.
Well, I actually had a conversation with an OPP officer when I was traveling in my own vehicle one time, and he asked me why I thought it was okay to pass on the right, and I showed him the section number, and he was educated.
Edumacating everybody. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
It's not always happy about it, though. That must be an interesting conversation. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. TPS Shrekky is watching us, and if you don't know who TPS Shrekky is, he's a member of the Toronto Police Service. He works with Engage 416. It's a project that's goal is to help people get out of gangs. It's very interesting stuff. Follow him if you don't already follow him. Now, the question is, will I get arrested for smelling like weed when I'm driving, or can I get a ticket for smelling bad? Smelling like weed may cause a further investigation. However, it's not necessarily an offense on its own.
I was going to mention that smelling bad, a lot of people would be getting tickets.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the smell of burnt marijuana or fresh marijuana or any marijuana. It's just not something that I like. So when I say bad, you may think it smells like flowers, but to me it's not.
You know what? It's legal to have. It's legal to possess. It's not legal to consume while you're driving.
And it must be sealed from the original packaging if you're transporting it in your vehicle.
Right.
So like similar to alcohol.
It may cause additional investigation to happen.
And Q rightfully so says, depends on the amount. You can't transport every amount of marijuana.
That is true.
Yeah, there are limitations to how much you can transport. Will Toronto Police use electric vehicles in the future? You know what? I couldn't predict. I know we've experimented or experimenting with some electric hybrid vehicles. I don't think we have any plug-in hybrids or plug-in vehicles right now, but it's the way of the future. It's what I think everyone eventually will be electric just because. Let's see here. Oh, somebody is spamming the chat, but it is a good question, so I'll address it despite the fact that Blossom245 is spamming. Please don't spam. Ask the question once, but not. Oh, it's been deleted already. And the question is it illegal to use or sell laser jammers? Yes, it is illegal to use and sell laser jammers or radar detectors. And why? Why would that be illegal? Well, their use is to prevent people from getting caught for breaking the law. So there is a section of the Highway Traffic Act that specifically addresses something that either warns of the use of speed measurement devices or something that prevents us from measuring your speed. Because the goal of speed enforcement is to ensure that we catch those who break the law to dissuade them from continuing to break the law. If you get away with it, you don't learn your lesson. You continue to put people's lives at risk. And despite what anyone may say about speeding, it is dangerous. When you exceed the speed limit, our friends at TURF talk about an exponential increase in your risk of becoming involved in a collision. And of course, the faster you go, the more serious your injuries will be, or to the injuries of someone you hit in the event that a collision takes place. So for the people who say, well, I've been doing it all my life and it's been okay, either you're lucky or you're due. And it's just a matter of time until bad things catch up with you, I think.
TURF, what is that?
TURF is the Traffic Injury Research Foundation. They are our friends who do all the sciencey, researchy, big brain stuff to find out stats and supporting evidence for all the things we talk about. They do this to help governments and to educate people. You can look it up. turf.ca is their website. We did an episode with them. You may have seen a couple of clips that I've posted from them. The entire episode's coming out soon, and they're fantastic folks with great information. And they talk about the issues of distracted driving, driving while tired, impaired driving, and speeding, everything. They talk about everything. Stuff that affects you and me. Okay. If you are watching on Instagram, if you are watching on TikTok, please hit the screen until your finger is numbed, repeatedly tapping it. That tells the algorithm that you like what you see, that it helps to notify the algorithm that they need to share it with more people so they can see it. If you want to share it with friends, family, even people you don't like, that is the best reference that you can give us by sharing our live stream with others. 5 people have already shared this one on TikTok, and I thank you very much. Now, you may also be watching us, and there's a whole bunch of you that are watching us on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. All of those, except for Twitter, currently allow you to ask questions. And Ryan Pinn is here. Good morning. I mentioned you. Your ears must have been burning when I said, "Where's Ryan?" He said he was listening while playing hockey on PlayStation. Okay, I don't have a PlayStation. That makes me sad. I've never played. I've never had the inkling to buy. I had an old Xbox after they were cool, like the original one. I had it way after, and then I got a used one for my kids. That was a newer one. I can't buy games for $80 a disc. I don't get it. Anyway, I don't even know if they are $80. Yeah, I have an interest in gaming, but not that interest. It's not that. Not yet. The extent of my gaming is an iPad or my iPhone. I'm a fan of OPP and Canadian Police. That's from Tim the Granted. Thank you. We are not the OPP, so you have to now add Toronto to your list of. Well, you said Canadian Police. That's the all-encompassing, and the RCMP. They're still covered by the Canadian Police. Okay, thank you very much, Tim.
And you know what? We all work together. So.
It is a team. It is a team sport.
Yep.
Are
Tim
there
wants
laws?
To know, sorry,
go.
It was a follow-up from the same viewer. What is the fine for speeding in Canada? And this is actually interesting, so I want to make sure we got it. It's different everywhere. Every province has their own laws and their own speeding schedule or fine schedule for every offense. In Ontario, we actually have the lowest fines per kilometer than any other province in Canada. Maybe that'll change. Hopefully it'll change because we're too cheap. We're a good deal. Do you remember what the math is? Is it $1.50 or $2.50?
Depends on the. They're divided into criteria. So certain sections are worth a certain amount per kilometer.
Okay, it goes up. It goes up, I think, as the points go. But to give you an example, 5 over would be a fine of $12.50 plus the victim fine surcharge would take the total payable to $27.50. If we go up to let's say 30 kilometers an hour, that's $180 plus victim fine surcharge, which brings it to $220. But I'm told that is just way lower than everybody else, like ridiculous.
And on top of that, Sean, we have community safety zones where the fines could be doubled.
School zones, things of that nature, in construction zones where where workers are present, it would bump it up to the higher numbers. Hunter thinks he's making a joke. It says, I'm doing 200 now and a 50. Should I slow down? Yeah, because I'd arrest you for doing 200 and a 50 right now. Mind you, a 50 zone is probably too short. You'd be through it before you could even, And you're distracted driving if you're typing while you're... you're losing your car, my friend. Okay. Is there a law, and I think you mean exemption, for having darker tint with a medical reason? Not in Ontario, but possibly in other provinces and jurisdictions. I know in the States there are some. If you have a doctor's note, you can apply for an exemption or have it as justification. It isn't the case here. You can't have it. Sunglasses is the best. People say, well, sunglasses don't do the thing. It's not just my eyes, it's my skin. There are UV protective clothing. I know it's not the answer you want, but it is the situation that there's no exemption. The goal of tint, or at least the goal of the law, is to make it safer. When you reduce the amount of light coming through your windows, it's the amount of visible light that you can use to see. The science of vision is that light has to get in for it to reflect off the back of your eye, to be absorbed. Is it absorbed, reflected, seen, viewed, so you can see? In fact, as we age, it requires more light to see the same things. So when you're younger, you can actually see better in the dark than as an older person, and that is interesting because for those folks who are older like me, you may find that you have to turn your screen on a little brighter to see it in the dark than you may have maybe had to in the past. So aging is fun, isn't it?
My turn.
Okay, your turn.
Are there laws against quick accelerations like 0 to 50 at a light, however not racing?
Well, we get this question a lot, and the answer is it depends on the interpretation of the officer who is making their observations. 0 to 60, if they see people jumping out of the way, if they see pedestrians being affected by your acceleration, could that be stunt? Could that be dangerous? It's possible. Depends on the situation. Simply 0 to 60 on its own, it's hard to say because I'm not there watching it.
You know what? Your wheels couldn't lose traction with the roadway. You can't be racing anybody else. So if there's another person at the light,
what if you're racing the clock?
Well, there's no specifics for rapid acceleration unless it goes beyond the threshold of what a normal acceleration is.
And I always say, what is everybody else doing? When you are being safe and cooperative and courteous on the road, it's where everyone's getting along and you're doing what you're expected to do. And I don't mean like you're expected to be a good person and you need to follow the rules. I mean, people make decisions in their vehicles to be safe based on what they expect you to do. So someone making a right turn is going to look at you and say, that person's going to accelerate at a normal rate of speed. I have time to get in and make my right turn. The problem is when you do something that's out of character for what an average driver is about to do by hammering the gas, you now accelerate faster. They initiate their turn thinking it's going to be okay, and now there's a collision. Well, who's at fault? Well, yeah, the person making the right turn had to make sure it was safe to do so, but you've now factored in and changed the dynamics of that situation, creating a more or less safe environment. It's not smart. So whether or not you get a ticket for it, it isn't something you should be doing. It just isn't a cooperative driving technique.
And you know what? Right or wrong, the whole goal is not to crash, not to get hurt, not to hurt anybody else.
Yeah, it's to get to your destination. We talk about guaranteed arrival a lot in policing, and I think it applies to everybody. If you're trying to get home to pick up the kids, as an example, because I'm a father, I think about this all the time. If I speed to do it and I get in a collision, have I met my responsibility as a dad to get to pick up my kids? No. Have I put my family in a situation where not only am I going to the hospital potentially, or even just delayed, what are my kids doing? I'm thinking about them in the future me. Before I get there, I'm thinking about getting there safely. As a police officer, if I need to go save someone, if I have to get there because they need the police, and they need the police now. If I do Mach 5 and I get into a collision and paramedics and ambulance and police are now coming to me, not only are the people who needed help not being helped, but now I need help too. So I've created more of an impact, a negative impact, and suck on resources for everyone involved. It's just a bad scene. We need to drive safely. We need to get where we're going. And what is a fine for hit and run? Hit and run is one of those no set fine situations. There's no fine. It failed to remain. I believe is
well. There's two different ways it could go depending on the set of circumstances. It can be criminal.
Yeah.
Where you fail to remain and fail to offer assistance and render assistance. The fine for that, I'm not sure what the criminal code says the minimum maximum are, but I do believe there is a jail sentence possibility in there. So
I'll tell you, it's a range of $400 to $2,000, or to a term of not more than 6 months, or to both. In addition to a suspension of your driver's license for not more than 2 years. So that's and it's 7 demerit points, and there's no set fine. So it depends on what the justice of the peace or judge and whoever's overseeing that case. So it's serious.
Is the Highway Traffic Act?
That's the Highway Traffic Act. Yeah. Criminal, obviously things change.
Yep, but it can apply as well. Both can apply.
Yes. Let's see here. But it's a good question, and I don't think anyone's ever asked it in quite that way. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Harold Star 8 with the good question. We've got to start doing like no, my volume was too down. Let's see here. Good question. I mean, I have a sound effect for good questions. Sorry, I like that sound pad. I never find enough reasons to use it. Bought an ex-cop car with red and blues legal. No, you can't have red and blues on your car. I don't think you can have them even mounted, but they certainly can't be activated.
I do believe you can mount them.
You think so?
Yep.
And maybe so. I know that when you, for instance, with school buses, if you buy an old school bus, you have to take the red lenses off. You have to put ambers on because they won't even let you have you won't even keep the bus in the same color. You have to change the way.
I was about to say you have to change the color of the bus as well
because that color is only permitted. And I wanted to say it's crimson yellow, but it's not crimson yellow. It's something else.
Chrome yellow.
Chrome yellow. And we had this conversation before, and I knew you'd correct me. But crimson, for some reason, is this thing. So in terms of having them, Sergeant Campbell says you may be able to physically have them. I myself would suggest removing them from the vehicle. You shouldn't have a light bar or those lights on there because the potential of you being investigated for potentially impersonating or putting yourself out to be like a police officer, even if you're not trying to, and even if you're not investigated, someone might think you're a cop and it might go badly for you.
Certainly could.
It's inviting some. Not everybody likes the police. I don't know. It's a shock. I know, but not everybody likes the police. What are the rules for lowering a car? Well, they have to be safe. You still have to be safe. So you can't go when you lower a vehicle. There's a couple of things. So we talked to Neon, who talked about the clearance from skirt packages, but he also said no more than 1.5 inches from factory. Now, police don't look at 1.5 inches from factory because most often we don't know what factory is. However, we do look at things like contact, frame, body to tire contact in a lock-to-lock situation when we compress the suspension, things like that. So we would inspect the vehicle. At the end of the day, consult a learned and trustworthy mechanic before doing anything and make sure that it is to spec. If they wouldn't safety the vehicle, obviously it's a problem. And many places will take your money, or many people will do it themselves with aftermarket kits that they do at home, and end up in a situation that, forget the fines, your vehicle's not safe. If your vehicle's not safe, you're putting your life and the life of others in jeopardy. Can we remove plate stickers now? The question is a good one. Right now, if your sticker is expired, you're covered until the end of the month. But you need to renew it online. And I've gone to the website to see it is active. You can go online and renew. You still need to renew before you take off that sticker that's giving you the exemption until the end of the month. So don't be in a rush to take it off. Make sure you are up to date. Go online to the ministry today and see if you can get that taken care of. There's some stuff you need to have, information from your ownership and so on. If your license plates are valid with the sticker on its face and you are not renewing until the end of that sticker, and I think that's the way it'll work. I don't know, does everybody have to go and renew right now? We've not received official direction yet.
No, I still believe you have to renew on your birthday or on your expiry date. I just don't think they're handing out the stickers
There are no
anymore.
stickers.
So going forward, they wouldn't get a replacement sticker.
So you're valid up until a point where your sticker would have expired.
Yep.
And that is when you apply. So don't take your sticker off until your validation is expired or expiring. Go online. Try and renew now. It'll probably give you a message and tell you that you're too early.
And there's certain criteria that the exemption is for. Commercial vehicles, pickup trucks, they have to be registered for a weight less than 3,000
Yes,
kilograms.
I was going to say.
And the one that I keep bringing up, they still have stickers.
And trailers.
For snowmobiles.
Trailers too. Now it might be big rig trailers that you're talking about, but I went through a list of them yesterday on the website, and it was pretty.
Well, there's no validation sticker for a trailer. There's no expiry.
Maybe it was just a registration fee then.
Could be.
Because there's still a registration fee. There was a bunch of things. It basically said, here's what it used to be and zero, and then trailers had a dollar amount. So, yeah, I've never actually registered a trailer. I don't own a trailer.
No,
so I have no experience.
They don't expire, and in our system it's 2027 because that was just a made-up date that they made back in the 80s or 90s, and thought, well, it'll never happen. But I imagine when it gets close to 2027, they will change the date again.
Okay. Chloe Biersky says, I came over from YouTube to support. Love you and Q. Thank you very much. But you should love Sgt Campbell too. He's a very nice guy. I'm not telling you who to love. You can love just you and I. It's just gone wrong. Okay.
Yeah, stop right there.
Stop right
Just
there.
stop.
Driving with yellow front-facing lights? ? It's legal. The only two colors you can project forward in in a motor vehicle in Ontario is yellow, or are yellow and white. That's it.
Yep. Yellow headlights if you want, no problem.
Very popular in the 70s, 80s, even 90s. Not so much now.
Yeah, fog lights. Over in Europe, certain countries, they're mandated they have to have amber-colored headlights.
I did not know that. Sean Chen says, "G'day." Big Jeff Fresh says, "Good morning. I've been here since Jerry we talked about. Oh, he was playing on the computer too. I started. So Ryan and Pin might be playing hockey together on the PlayStation in different provinces." Shamneet says, "Namaste." And what was this? Big Jeff Fresh says, "What would a paint job on a bus cost?" Also realized I was 3 meters behind on stream. Oh, 3 minutes behind on stream. Interesting. Okay, I guess you get to you go into a queue and you can catch up and watch. And you can watch fast forward to catch up. It's very interesting. Somebody told me they did that. Okay. Chloe Bersky says she ran out of characters in QA. Hello to Sergeant Campbell. Okay. Moving on. We have. Oh, here's a question we've not seen this in a long time. Are undermounting lights on your car illegal? Underglow, yay! There's no specific law for Underglow. It doesn't come up as a specific charge that you are not allowed to have them. That being said, if they're improperly installed, if the bulbs are visible, if you're projecting light in any particular direction and it's the incorrect color, you're going to have issues because you could be charged for improper headlights for having light other than yellow or white to the front, as we were just talking about with headlights. So, yeah, your mileage may vary. You could end up in a situation. Flashing lights are obviously an issue if they're red. You shouldn't have red, blue, or green. Those are restricted colors. But you know what? If you're on private property, those are ideal. Use them when you're showing your car. Don't use them when you're driving. That would be our suggestion. All right. There is are license plates on an angle illegal? I don't know what you're talking about, Evan, but I think you mean mounting plates on an angle.
I think license plates.
License plates? Oh, even better.
Okay.
Yeah, your decoding skills have trumped mine. If your license plate is rotated, technically it's not legal. It has to be legible. It should be horizontally mounted as
Clearly
directed.
discernible.
Clearly discernible. So that it means angle as well. It has to be front facing and rear facing, and the rear facing has to be illuminated. Now, people say, does it have to be centered in your bumper? No, it doesn't have to be centered in your bumper, but it could be offset, and many vehicles come factory with an offset mount. So that's not an issue. Okay. We have not a traffic question, but any advice on the PAIR test. PAIR test is what the RCMP use, I believe, and I don't have any advice because I've never actually done that test. However, assuming it's an NL2 Max equivalent or something to that effect, being in the best shape you can be, practicing the specific things you're going to be doing on the test are good. When I was doing the shuttle run practice, I bought a rope, I cut it 20 meters, I labeled it so I knew where my turnaround boxes were, and I did that test, and I trained for the test I was going to take. I would also see if there's anybody or access to if there's any specialized equipment to be able to do that. So let's see here. Right on red with red light camera. Okay, so in Ontario, and every province is going to be different. You can make a right turn on a red light. However, you must come to a stop prior to making that right turn, and you must ensure that it's safe to do so. If there's a red light camera there and you've come to a complete stop, you can then continue without fear of a red light camera. If you were to not stop and just make the right turn on the red without coming to a complete stop prior to, that would be running a red light, and it would be no different. So yeah, then a red light camera would ticket you. Yeah. Does traffic light camera captures violations? Traffic light camera so a red light camera captures red light violations specifically. If you litter, you will not see it on that camera. It's very specific. Speed cameras, just speed. They're not multi-use. Although that's an interesting thing. Maybe one day they'll have the Swiss Army knife camera at every intersection. Let's see here. Is it possible to become a cop with one eye blind? It's a good question. I've heard of people in the past who have lost vision in one eye, who either were police officers or became. I don't know what the case is, if that's possible. That would be a great question for TPS recruiting. They're on TikTok. They're also available at www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers. I know that when they talk about testing requirements on the website, it says 20/40 uncorrected binocular, being both eyes. But you might be able to get more information from them. What happens if an officer causes an accident? Well, we don't have any accidents. Accidents suggest it was oopsie, and it's actually a collision because somebody is responsible. Sorry, I had to get that out there. And our trigger points. If an officer causes a collision, they're going to be held responsible for it. The collisions are investigated. Additionally, a traffic sergeant has to attend those, which is a step up above a regular collision, not involving a police officer, and that is to make sure that every aspect is covered.
Well, and to ensure that it's an independent investigation, that police officers are not looking after police officers. And in fact, police officers are held to a higher account when involved in a collision. So we can face Highway Traffic Act charges, which happens all the time. And we could also place Police Act charges, which affects our paycheck.
Yes, you can be for anything that you do that's breaking the rules. Police officers can be written up, documented for that. So not only can it be a positive or negative documentation in one's file when you do something, but that may come with a loss of hours, which is a bad thing in terms of, because less money is not fun.
Exactly, it's just like a fine.
And those things escalate rapidly. 4 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours. Someone who doesn't want to follow the rules or is chronically in trouble with breaking rules could be very working for free. Mm-hmm. Not a good thing. Let's see here. How do emissions/mufflers work with hot rod/rat rod? If you're looking at an old school hot rod, that vehicle was likely based on a vehicle that was manufactured prior to the regulations surrounding emissions. So if you have a 1918, I don't know, what year was what would you build into a rat rod? An old vehicle. So if when it was manufactured at the factory and it didn't require emissions, it still doesn't require emissions. If you took a new car, a 2022, and wanted to make a rat rod out of it, aside from it being, I don't know how you do that, but if you did that, you would still have to have a muffler.
Now, and it must be the original. If you're talking something like a TBucket manufactured, it has to be the original vehicle. You can't go and get an aftermarket fiberglass looking body for it because it's not an original vehicle.
So you'd have to have all the original components. There's going to be some threshold.
Well, you can certainly modify components as long as it fits what was legal back then. But that includes putting in bigger engines and things like that. But you can't do one. You can't build one.
You can't customize or take a kit and manufacture a 1918 car.
That's correct.
I get it.
Actually, you can. It just wouldn't qualify for.
You have to have a muffler.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be a 1918. It would be a 2022 that looks like a 1918. 1918. I think my grandfather was still riding a horse back then. I don't think. Okay, are tinted taillights legal? Question specifically for, no, it doesn't say actually it's for you, but it might be your favorite question.
It's my most hated thing. Why in the world would you ever want to make your taillights less effective? You want everybody behind you to know that you're slowing down, that you're there, that you're around.
I might want more visible brake lights, like bigger, brighter ones.
Yeah, it's not only is it unlawful, you can't put any coating or lens or anything or diminish its capability, but it just does not make sense to me.
I concur. It doesn't make sense to me either. I shouldn't say that. I've seen some show cars with blacked out lights, and they look cool. They really do look cool. I think they're silly, but they look cool. Yep. But they're never on the road. It's just, you can't have them on the road.
How cool do you look if you have another car parked in your trunk?
It's a good way of putting it. Does license, ownership, and insurance address have to be the same? So does it have to be? If you don't own the vehicle, certainly it doesn't have to match. If you do own the vehicle, there's a question. Where do you live? When you disclose your address to the ministry, you're supposed to disclose your actual address. If you don't, why aren't you? Is it to get a lower insurance rate? Could that be insurance fraud? Could there maybe on its face, I don't think it's something that is regularly concern. I think most people have it because they have a single address.
Yep. There's the ability to send your mail to a different mailing address, but you have to have your primary residence listed as your address. As far as your insurance card comes from an independent private industry. They can mail you your cards wherever you want them sent.
But I think that, and that's where I was going with the insurance fraud statement, is that if you were to disclose something that was not accurate or true, they may determine that you are not telling the truth and decline your claim should you ever ask for one. So having insurance versus getting paid from insurance might be a different situation.
I can tell you personal experience. It really, really helps when we do compassionate notifications. Like, say you've gotten hurt or injured or worse, to have your proper address on your driver's license, because that's the first place we will look when we go to try and find your family.
There was some reason I pulled up the website for Toronto Police, and I don't know what it is now. Can you tell me what I was thinking about 5 minutes ago? No. Okay.
Careers?
Maybe it was. Oh, that's exactly what it was. Thank you. Thank you, Q. The question that had come in for what is the base pay for a police officer, and I will tell you what that is right now. Salary and benefits. It's all on the Toronto Police website. A cadet in training. Do I see this question now? I probably won't be able to find it now. In any case, I saw it. I don't know where it is, but now I'm putting it here. Cadet in training starts at $65,811.67. That's while you're at the you're hired pre-police college, which is Toronto Police College. Then you go to OPC, you graduate, and when you are sworn in as a police officer, a fourth-class constable now starts at $73,142.64.
And can work its way up to first-class constable.
First-class constable after completing, I think it's 14 months at every stage, $104,491.87. You think they'd round up?
You'd think so.
Just to make my life easier. It's like 104.5 or 105. No. Oh, well. But that's the question. That's the answer to the question that I can't find on screen because it's a good question. What to do when someone brake checks you? This is where you are behind someone and they hammer the brakes to send a clear message that you might be too close. Well, that could be careless, could be criminal, dangerous driving, could be a lot of things. I don't know if it could be stunt, it could maybe stunt. But the deal is, one, if someone brakes checks you and you're far away, it's probably not brake checking you, but you'd have time and place to respond. If you're really right behind them, you may also be following too close.
I was going to say, why are they doing it? What's causing them to do it?
Yeah.
If they're doing it on purpose, it's dangerous driving. It's a criminal dangerous driving act because they're doing it on purpose, trying to cause something to happen.
Intent. Yeah.
Yep.
And but there may be legitimate reasons for hammering on the brakes, like someone jumped in the road, there's a dog, a cat, a meteor,
Exactly.
All sorts of things that could cause someone to respond with hitting the brakes. And it's your responsibility while driving to give a sufficient amount of space in front of you to make sure you have that reactionary gap so you can do what you need to do.
You know what? If somebody's doing it to you, I would take a quick look around of your situation. Maybe your high beams are on. Maybe that's their signal that you're blinding them.
Yeah,
So
that could. Yeah.
have a look around at what you're doing as well.
You check yourself before you. No.
And change lanes because you don't want to end up in a collision.
Yeah, obviously, if that happens once, don't just continue to drive behind them. Make a change because different scenery might be safer.
Yeah.
We have Brent Perry who says, I took off the dealership plate from my license plate thanks to your advice. Well, thanks, Brent. I'm glad that worked out. This is all a follow-up to the discussion about the fact that any obstruction, any license plate frame or cover is technically illegal. It's an obstruction of the plate, and whether you're obstructed by a plastic frame or cover or it's just dirty, those are offenses under the Highway Traffic Act and could cost you money. $110 is the fine for either of those.
Including the plate surrounds that advertise for the place that you bought it from.
That's right. There are better ways to advertise at dealers. You do something different. Give them stickers that don't go on the plate.
Yeah, they do that as well, though.
Yeah. Why advertise? I mean, I like my car dealer. Don't want to pay his a thing. You want to know where I bought my car? Ask me. Don't put it on my truck. Okay. Are 49cc motorized bicycles allowed on the road? The answer is no. There's a belief by many people who drive them all the time. I've seen some pretty wonky rigs that people have wired up aftermarket, and they say, well, it's okay for an e-bike. How come I can't have this gas-powered version? because an e-bike has specific legislation that permits it to exist. It's otherwise a motorcycle, just like your 49cc motorcycle. Now, the difference is that as long as it conforms by traveling at under a maximum speed of 32 kilometers an hour and is of electric power, not gasoline power, then and there's a bunch of other things, but as long as it conforms to the specifics of what an e-bike is, then it's covered. If it's gas, it's not. I've seen some pretty scary bicycle conversion kits.
Yeah, so have I. And, Sean, just to explain it a different way, an e-bike is a motorcycle as well. It is an electric motorcycle. There is an exemption for certain parts of operations of it, including driver's license or insurance, but it's still a motorcycle.
And if you violate, if you make it go 33 kilometers an hour, when it reverts from being an e-bike and back into a motorcycle. And we see this all the time where people take the limiters off, and in doing so, put them into jeopardy for driving without a license, driving without insurance, driving without a license plate. And what happens when you drive without insurance? Well, you're eligible for a ticket, and the minimum fine, $5,000, the maximum $25,000, and of course, up to 6 months in jail.
It also doesn't exempt them from operating it while impaired.
Yes, and even with the e-bike exemption, so even if it does less than 32 kilometers, whether it's a four-wheel mobility scooter, an e-bike, and anything, that's a motor vehicle, and if you're impaired while operating it, you are eligible to be arrested for said offense. It's and that's impaired by drug or alcohol. A lot of people didn't realize that. The only thing that I think is exempt is going to be a wheelchair, because that's a very specific designation. Do I need a new license if I've moved permanently to the United States? So if you are driving with a Canadian driver's license, yes. After you've moved, you are now a resident of there, not here, and you would have to go and see their ministry or their, what's it called, a Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV. You go in and they will credit you, in most cases, for whatever you have earned and give you an equivalent license there. Equally, if you were to travel and move between provinces in Canada, you would be able to go to their Ministry of Transportation or whatever they call it in their place and hand over your full G license and get a full in there. Sometimes, however, if you have a G2 or a G1, they'll credit you some, but not all of your experience. And you may have to do some additional testing, potentially, maybe, possibly. Don't know. Okay. How far can tires stick past the fenders? I don't know if there's a specific amount that there's. We've talked about this before. They're not supposed to, by right. So how much of a leeway there is, I don't know offhand.
So there's a maximum width of a vehicle that's allowed on the roadways. I believe it's in old terms, it's 101 inches, I think, is a maximum. But all your tires have to be covered when you're operating on the road. Can't allow any stones or water or spray or anything to be thrown up from it that may cause an impairment for the people behind you, around you, or pedestrians.
So truly, none.
So it can, in certain circumstances. It has to fall within a certain parameter, and if it's wet out, then you're none.
There you go. That's a problem. We see a lot of vehicles, and I was on the Jerry Agar Show a while back, and we were on with him this morning, but a former police officer, retired police officer, called into the show and said, what's going on here? Why are all these violators out on the road? And why aren't you hitting them for each and every offense? Like, well, why are they allowed to get away with it? And the simple answer that I gave then, and I think is accurate now as well, we focus on the big four. We look for the things that are most serious on our roadways every day, the ones that lead to serious injury and death. And then we also look for these when we're not dealing with those. So there are people who are getting away with it. And just because you're seeing it doesn't mean it's legal. And that's where I'm going with this, is that we do see it. And I see it when I'm driving home on my personal vehicle. I see it all the time, and I'm not in a position to do anything about it when I'm not in a police car.
You know what's funny? I see more on my drive home than I do when I'm driving around in a police car. Somehow, everybody seems to drive better when they know I'm there.
I wonder how that works.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see here. If he speeds by, he gets away, you miss their plate number. So you're saying what happens if a vehicle speeds past a police officer and they get away? If we don't catch them, we don't catch them. We don't call in the choppers. But you know what? We'll get them next time. We can't get everybody, but you know what? There's somebody down the road who's doing the same thing that I'm doing, and we're police officers. We work together. It's not my day on Tuesdays and Sgt Campbell's on Wednesdays. We have hundreds of police officers all over the place. So.
Yep, and additionally to that, I've used our cameras before. So when I hit record on the camera, it goes back 30 seconds and it will capture what happened leading up to it for 30 seconds. So I've used that before to identify cars and plates and drivers. And
I had a great one where someone sped by me before I could even get on the road. They were making the turn, but what they forgot is they went through a red light camera.
oh,
Yeah. So they got the red light camera, and then I called them up and said, hey, can I get a copy of the camera footage for this time and date? Because I'm sure my guy went through, and sure enough. Okay. Accident car who hit doesn't have insurance charge. So, yeah, if you're involved in a motor vehicle collision and you don't have insurance or the other party doesn't have insurance, police come and we charge the other person for either permitting or the owner for permitting or if the owner's driving, then them for driving on the road with no insurance. What's the charge for getting gas then not paying? Oddly enough, somebody else asked me this week. That's theft.
yep.
That's theft. That's criminal. Don't do that. There's no way that driving is that important that you want to go to jail. And it's amazing the quality of video camera that is installed in these locations. And there's actually some articles that have come out recently saying maybe we should switch to prepay province-wide.
You know what? There's certain jurisdictions that mandate it. You have to prepay.
And you know what? As much I use my credit card at the pump because I don't want to walk in. It's not a huge inconvenience. Why don't we just do it?
Yeah.
And it certainly prevents the theft. Although I got to tell you, the few times that I wanted to use a gift card, someone gave me a gift card. I'm going to use it on gas. I was annoyed that I had to walk in and prepay. So I get it. It's not. It's talking both sides of my mouth. Okay. How does a police tail work for speeding? You mean pacing? So if I'm behind you and I am driving at the same speed as you are, and I look at my speedometer and it says I'm traveling at a particular speed, amazingly, that's the speed you are going to. And then I'm just making my observations and recording it. Okay. If you see an accident, or in our case, a collision, but don't witness, do you stop? That is up to you. I do. I stop at collisions all the time to offer assistance to make sure people are okay, to help convey information to the police in case they don't have a cell phone. If there's injuries there, I know first aid. So there's all sorts of reasons why I do stop, whether you witness it or not. Okay. Let's see here. Sgt Campbell had to take off. Making a right turn, not waiting for a pedestrian. Is that you're asking or you're telling? Here's the deal. If you're making a right turn at an intersection, you cannot impede or interfere with the movement of that pedestrian. So if they're legally on the street, they've got the right of the way, legally on the street. The best rule or the best way, then the way I learned was wait until they pass your half of the roadway. And that way you know that you are making your turn or continuing through when it's safe to do so. Now, a pedestrian crossover is different. And they must be completely off the roadway in its entirety before anyone can move. Different when you're when you're at a signalized intersection. So if they're on the other half of the road, you're not interfering with them if you make your turn. If they're on your half of the road, you obviously can't do it. And the charge is not fun for you. That's fail to yield pedestrian. Let's see here. Still under the BAC, but only have a G2. Do I get a DUI? Still. No. If you have if you're a G2 and you're not allowed to have any, then you'd get a suspension, not a criminal drive under suspension. Drive under influence charge. So if you're under the BAC of 0.05, actually, if you're anything under 0.08, you're going to get a suspension. A warn would be I think a different suspension. You're going to get your roadside screening device, which is going to give you a 3-day suspension. But if you have any amount, you're going to get a specific to a novice driver having alcohol in your system, 30-day suspension, I believe. Is it 30 days? I think it's 30 days. So yeah, if you were to blow up, anyone getting a 0.05 is going to get a 3-day. And if you have multiple 3 days over time, you're going to actually have them escalate. 3 the first time, I think 7 the second time, then bad things happen. I can't remember what the other one is. And apparently, there's a lot of spam, which is causing some people to leave because they're annoyed by the spam. So spammers, cut it out. The family-friendly mods are unhappy with you. I don't see it. You're not annoying me. So if your goal is to annoy me, you're failing miserably. Let's see here. What is this? Tim the Granted is asking all sorts of questions. But we don't have time to get into all. You had a couple already, so we're going to have to come back to you later. What is a pedestrian crossover? Okay, that's a good question. Pedestrian crossovers are specifically, it'll say pedestrian, and it'll say with an X, and it'll say crossover. It has flashing lights. It is not in relation to a signalized intersection. So it's a crosswalk that is very specific to on its own, as opposed to, so they're mid-block usually, and they say pedestrian with an X, crossover. If you go to the City of Toronto website, they'll give you some great pictures. Or just Google pedestrian crossover Toronto. What is the biggest or worst tickets or fines you gave? I'd say stunt is probably the stunt and cell phone are probably the two biggest. I mean, that's fines as opposed to criminal charges, because that's obviously, get into bigger stuff. And no insurance is no set fine, but it comes with a $5,000 to $25,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. And I've laid, of course, all of those because they're all serious. So any serious offense is going to come with those. If I only have my G1 and I'm driving alone, what are the fines? What are the consequences? Well, a 30-day suspension is the start. When you get convicted, you get a 30-day suspension for driving unaccompanied. You're obviously not covered under any insurance if you're in a collision because you're not a licensed driver. The person who lent you the car can be charged. They can be charged for permitting someone to drive in contravention with their driver's license. So that's not good. Well, it's good that they get punished, but it's not good that they did it because they've enabled you to do it. What else? And of course, it's the drive unaccompanied charge of $110. So there's a whole bunch of them. Don't do it. You're not licensed. You're not proven as a driver, and you shouldn't be. Now, I should tell you that the first time you get charged for violating, it's a 30-day suspension. The second time, it's 90 days. The third time, you get kicked out of the program, and you lose all your time and investment in terms of money in the program. So if you were waiting 8 to 12 months before you could take your G2, when you could legally drive by yourself, yeah, you start back at zero at that point, and you reapply, like even everything. It's not fun. Just be patient. Patience is a virtue and a requirement if you are learning to be a driver in Ontario. Sgt Campbell and myself both went and got our 365s when we turned on to 16, and then we're licensed shortly thereafter. Sorry, I don't know why this person is calling, but it could be important. I'll be right back.
Hey, Q, I'm still here, so if you want to.
Hello.
Here's a question, Sergeant Campbell. If you hit someone who turns out not to have insurance, does that charge fall to them as they're not supposed to be driving without it, or does the fault remain with you?
So there's going to be two separate things with regards to collisions and not insured. You do have coverage if you have insurance in the province of Ontario for uninsured vehicles. So your damage would be covered through your own insurance. They could face the charge of driving no insurance, but the collision itself would be investigated independently, and either one of you, whoever caused the collision, could face charges for that. So it's kind of, we take the situation as we find it. If you cause the crash, you're going to get charged for it, but then if we find out that you're driving without insurance, either one of you, then that's something completely separate investigation.
I totally missed that.
It's all good.
See, it's good. We really need more cameras in here, so I can completely go off. I got a call from camp, so I was concerned that there was maybe a mishap, and the mishap was very minor, and it's all good.
Everybody's good.
Everybody's good. Is there a decibel limit for horns? We've talked about this before to some degree. We talked about train horns and whether or not they could be justified in their use, and I think it really just comes down to. Is it reasonable use or not?
And is it necessary?
Yes. Well, some would argue that bigger is better, and for safety, being used appropriately, that it could be. But train horns that cause heart attacks, I can only imagine what that would sound like behind you. But it would definitely work in terms of getting your attention. And regular horns don't always work.
Yeah, no, very true. I'm not aware of any maximum decibel for it. But if you're driving around using it, just for the purpose of using it, then you're eligible for a ticket for sure.
That is no question. That's not necessary, yes. Yeah. Just because. And I was really impressed with some German cars, and I don't know if it's all German cars or if it's only ones that were imported earlier models. So they had city and highway horns.
Really?
So you had a switch, and you could either hit the beep beep, hello, you're in my way, or your lights are on type, trying to get their attention, or wooga, get out of my way.
Well, I know depending on the country you're in, the use of the horn is a regular thing. It's just part of driving, and that's what everybody seems to do. Very different from over here in North America.
Everyone's offended here.
I know. Over in Europe, their horn is connected to their high beams. So if you hit your horn, your car is your high beams will turn on.
I did not know that either.
Well, it's an alert feature, right? Audible and visible.
When I was traveling in Rome, Italy, and not only is the horn the primary communication, the bumper is also very effectively used. I was shocked that it was very much not only park by feel, but it was like, get out of my way. And they will, it's very different. Maybe this is like 25 years ago. Maybe it's changed since then. Okay. Ru Aman says, just want to say thank you for your service. You're most welcome. Thank you very much for the message, and I appreciate you. G license, full G license, and I'm 21 years old. Am I allowed to have alcohol in my system? So my understanding is you're still a novice at 21, and then you must be 22 before you can have any alcohol in your system, which is wild. I mean, to me, it's something that was new in the whole graduated licensing thing. I was shocked when I heard that, but obviously, I've known that for some time.
So there's a difference between a novice driver and a young person within the Highway Traffic Act. One goes by the years of experience, where the other one goes by your age. And all in all, any alcohol is not a good idea.
This is true. If you are going to be making choices of driving, because it's a plan and a choice, do the responsible thing. And I know everyone says that, but it's true. Make plans, make alternative plans. Choose to put your life and the lives of others at a higher priority than just saving $5 or $25 or even $100 on a taxi. Nothing wrong with having a good time. If that a good time includes alcohol or drugs that are legal, then so be it. But don't drive.
Yep, I agree. Lawyers are expensive.
Oh my goodness! The average defense, I believe, is about $15,000 to $30,000 average. You could have a better lawyer that costs more, but the average defense is $15,000. It doesn't mean you win; it just means you pay a lawyer trying to defend you.
Yep.
What rank are you? Well, you know what? We haven't done a little Dory business in a little while. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. My rank is police constable, and I work at Traffic Services, which is a citywide unit here in Toronto that handles all of the traffic-related investigations and response. So we have people that do all sorts of things. What I do is I work at traffic safety programs, and we're the educational branch of this unit, answering your traffic and police questions here on social media, dealing with the traditional media, and also creating campaigns that are traffic safety related. In fact, this week it's March Break, March Safe. We're talking about traffic safety in the city, more so than regularly. We're focusing on vulnerable road users, because in the last 10 years we've lost 601 people on our roads. Death. We didn't just not know where they are. They're dead as a result of collisions. 345 of those were pedestrians. That's more than 50%, 57% in fact, and that's too many. Any death is unacceptable, in my opinion, because I really buy into this whole concept of minor collisions. They're going to happen, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death are both avoidable and unacceptable. I know it's their spiel, but it's become my spiel too. I've said it so many times, I really believe it. Not just because I've repeated it so many times, but there's no reason that we need to do things that are that there are so many. We can get around without hurting each other, and it's about. I think most collisions and most issues on the road are coming down to a lack of courtesy. If we could just be better to one another. We get all excited when things are happening in social movements, and you open a door for somebody because you see them coming. Sure. Then how can we cut them off when we're on the road? People switch, like pivot on a hinge. You're friendly in every situation, but you're not friendly when you're driving, or courteous. Well, we need to change. We need to be better, yeah. I think. I was talking to Sgt Stein, who's used to be on the show on a regular basis, and he was saying, if you were at McDonald's, you walked in and you saw 15 people waiting in line, would you walk to the front and say, give me a burger? Probably not. But if you're in a car, somehow you'll drive, or many people will drive past 15 cars waiting to get on, take the on-ramp onto a highway and cut in last minute. Well, why is that? It's not okay.
No, it's not.
Courtesy. And then people get upset and everyone's days up, ruined, and
I don't drive in every day. Yesterday, Sean, I was driving up the Don Valley Parkway, which is slow at most times. I had some time to spare. I was taking my time. I was letting people in. I was being courteous. I did see somebody who was driving a little bit aggressively, trying to get around people, multiple lane changes up and down. By the time I got to the top of the Don Valley Parkway by the 401, I had actually passed them, and I was in front of them. And they were still behind me, weaving and bobbing and causing dangerous lane changes. So
it's amazing. It's the concept of speeding. Speeding in most, we understand that I've just switched channels to speeding, but we'll circle back to being courteous. People do a lot of things thinking they're saving time, and they make a lot of decisions that are dangerous and not courteous, and it's all because I got to get to where I'm going. Well, two things. One, you're really not getting there any faster. It's just not happening. The belief that you aren't going to arrive at the next traffic light, and yet you will for the next 5 or 10 or however many, with the same people you passed every single time. You feel better maybe, but you're not going anywhere. You'd be far better to listen to some nice music. Slow down. Give yourself time to get where you want to go. And enjoy the drive. It's not about just getting to your destination. The drive is a big part of the day. I like my drive. I get to catch up on news, on speakerphone with some friends. It's my me time. And if you look at it as a positive, you might actually get more benefit out of it and a lot less stress. And stress is dangerous. It's not good for you. We're going to have a new show, the not so stressful drive with
Sean Shapiro.
Something else. We were on with News Talk 1010 this morning on the Jerry Agar Show, talking about the new reporting center here at Traffic Services for Pedestrians and Cyclists, which is awesome. We were talking about our safety program, but we're doing another episode with them next Wednesday. So 2 weeks in a row. That's usually we're every other week. 2 weeks in a row. We'll be back on the show on Wednesday. So if you weren't on the air with us then today and you missed it, you wanted to hear what Jerry sounds like, you'll hear him on Wednesday. Come back. Are you able to catch someone speeding up behind you? So we do have a magical thing called moving radar in our vehicles. They have antennas on the front and the back of the vehicle, and if activated, we can totally monitor speeds approaching. And radar is a fun thing. I like radar. I like speed enforcement in general, and we have different tools. But so we do have the ability for approaching vehicles, whether in front or behind, either going away from us or approaching us. We also have other devices. We use laser speed measurement devices when we're stationary. I think it's fantastic stuff. Let's see here. Spam is for sandwiches. Yes. Mark Anthony. Oh, I haven't looked over here in a while. We missed some stuff.
I'm not even actually sure if spam is for sandwiches.
I don't know if spam is for anything. I don't know why spam is created. I do know why spam was created, but I don't want it. I don't think I've tasted it. I don't want to taste it. Have you tasted it?
I have, yeah.
Is it worthy of being avoided?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's worthy of
it. Now, fried spam, I've heard, is interesting. Maybe it takes the texture, because I'm all about texture. Texture is important. So Mark Anthony wants to know, if you hit someone who turns out not to have
we did cover that one already.
We did this one?
Yep.
Okay. It was just in two different areas.
You had your headphones off.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we're going to come back here. Should go back to the start of the story and mark it for a podcast. Which story were we talking about? Okay. I'm not going to, I've already gone off the beaten path. Who gives tickets to no commercial vehicles roads? I am not sure what you're talking about. We have commercial motor vehicle inspectors. The ministry has commercial motor vehicle inspectors, but you said who gives tickets to non-commercial vehicles roads? Yeah, I don't know.
I believe certain jurisdictions have designated roads where larger trucks, commercial vehicles are not allowed.
Oh.
So not in Toronto, other than signed, and it's usually because of height restrictions. But there may be other jurisdictions where the police would be the one enforcing it there.
Mark Anthony, by the way, I'm changing channels again. Mark Anthony says, that's not my question. You didn't answer it yet. So the question was, if you hit someone who turns out not to have insurance, does that charge fault to them as they're not supposed to be driving, or does the fault remain with you?
We did answer that.
Mark Anthony, they did answer that.
Yeah. I asked it when you had your headphones off.
Okay, but
the answer to it was If you cause the collision,
You still cause a collision.
you still cause the collision. Additionally to that, there'd be an investigation into the validity of insurance, and they could also get fined for it as well.
And we have up to 3 years to lay that charge. So if it comes out later, we can still lay that charge. If you remove your second cat, is that illegal? Second cat, first cat, any cat. Catalytic converters
Meow.
are required equipment. Meow.
Meow.
Right. Meow. Are we starting this thing? Is this a new thing? Oh no. So yeah, catalytic converters are required hardware. If you remove them, it is a violation of the Environmental Protection Act, and that is bad things happening for you because not only are they serious offenses, that's take your plates territory.
Yep. And your engine won't function properly. You got to check engine light on all the time because there's no two sensor before and after them just to make sure that everything's working properly. If you take it out, it wouldn't work properly.
I will tell you this: there are catalytic converters that are free breathing, that are legal, that are replaceable. So if you talk to a good mechanic, I've spoken to some, and they say that they can be changed if they meet the requirements.
Yep.
But something that people don't know is that cars are not as are different than they were 50 years ago. Removing catalytic converters once upon a time made your vehicle more efficient or more powerful. Now, because of the freer breathing technology, we're told that it doesn't really make a significant impact. So why do it? Why mess with your car and change the way it functions and possibly make it function poorer? Things to think about. What is this? Is it okay to honk when kids do the arm pump for a semi? Technically speaking, it's unnecessary noise unless you think that is a necessary thing. Do I turn the sirens on when kids, look at us and wave and stuff? Absolutely. Is that going to cause you big problems? Hopefully not. I think that's a justified use. Unofficially.
I think I'm still a kid then because I make the heart hands to cops when I drive by, and then they always give me the siren.
And you know what? It is communication to some degree, and it's not just being a nuisance. It's I think making a kid smile is important. But technically speaking, is it unnecessary? Yeah, it is. Would I give you a ticket for it? Maybe I give you a warning. It all depends on the need.
As your supervisor, Sean, I'm not saying a thing.
Okay, what's the new process for plate stickers? Check out the MTO website. Go to the MTO. Actually, I don't think there's a short thing. Google MTO Plate Renewal Ontario, and there is an online process. You will need some particulars, information that's from your ownership document in order to make it happen. But I did see it. I have not tried it yet, although I'm going to experiment over the next couple of days because I have to renew my motorcycle plates. Even though I'm not riding it, I'm going to renew the plates just to go through the experience to help you, just so I can say I've done it. Let's see here. So if I'm drifting in my driveway, can a cop ticket me? You've got a heck of a driveway if you're drifting on your driveway. But yes, technically speaking, we could. Are we at the end of your driveway right now? Wait, are we at the end of his driveway right now?
We never know.
Never know. It's entirely possible. It's unlikely, but it's entirely possible. Yeah, you'd be eligible for the ticket if you were being investigated or if you were being observed. If I'm nice, will the cop let me off? That is up to the individual discretion of the officer who is in investigating it. Could an officer say, I'm going to give you a warning because they want to give you a warning? Yeah, they could.
You know what? The goal is to change driver behavior, to make it safer, right? If you're more receptive and understand that you've done something wrong, you've reached one level of what the officer is trying to achieve. If you're not receptive to it, then the officer doesn't have any other choices to educate. Not getting his message across, not getting their message across, it may result in a ticket or a warning.
Very often, I would pull people over for cell phones. And I was almost always told that they weren't doing what I clearly observed them doing. That is not a good way to start a conversation. Now, I will say that cell phones are very serious, and the chances of getting a warning from me for a cell phone are slim to none. But I did appreciate when someone said, "You're right, I was using my phone." You know, that would at least, if I was inclined to give someone a break, someone who acknowledges that they were doing something wrong and they were caught would be the one that would get a break. Speeding, I don't know, I wasn't speeding. Well, yeah, you were. If you tell me that I'm wrong and that I'm lying to you, I'm less inclined to reduce or give a break. Just as simple as that.
You know what? There's no hard and fast rule. Different people have different thresholds.
Absolutely.
different people. The set of circumstances is different in every single one. So you can't say yes or no to one or other. I can only talk of my personal experience. So.
Well, absolutely, but as it's just a general life rule, be polite and take responsibility for things is a good way to go. Just in general, I like to live by that. That's me. My motorized mobility scooter does 200 kilometers top speed an hour.
Is that what was that movie? There was a movie where they modified a mobility scooter.
Would that start with the name Jack?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
That would be a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
That would be not sidewalk friendly. We had a number of people who actually are looking to modify these things. And when I was in Italy, the same trip that I spoke about earlier, I remember driving the Amalfi Coast and being passed by a gentleman on a 3-wheeled gas-powered wheelchair.
Wow.
It had like an outrigger arm with a giant bicycle tire on the front. I'm sure it was homemade. It cooked. And I don't know what the laws are there, so I can't comment. I was much younger. Cool. What else? Can I speed if I'm going to see my girlfriend? No.
Could be important.
Could be important. No. Thought cops can't take it private property. So this is a follow-up question about stunt driving. As of September 12, 2021, the rules of stunt driving, or the HTA, was expanded to include private property for the specific charge of stunt driving. So drifting on private property would now be enforceable. Can you lose your plate for stolen cats? So you are the victim of catalytic converters being stolen. Can you be, you can't drive. It doesn't matter how the cats went missing. Your vehicle's no longer capable of being operated. Even though you're the victim of crime, you need to get that replaced. Your insurance company should be covering those. And Sergeant Campbell, the question was, if my catalytic converters were stolen, can I drive?
Oh, you're going to know.
But the question was, can I still lose my plates if I'm driving with stolen cats?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to know.
Not only are you going to know, but you're still responsible, and that's where you file an insurance claim and get those replaced because they're bloody expensive.
And it's going to be awfully loud.
Yes, but you're not exempt just because you're the victim of crime.
Yep.
Can you run a red light if there's an ambulance behind you? No. Even a police vehicle, ambulance, fire truck, they can't just run the light because they have to meet the requirements of the HTA, which say you have to have lights and sirens and 360-degree lighting and so on. If you don't have those things, you can't do it, even if they're behind you. You can, however, make a legal right turn if it's safe to do so and get out of their way, which would be what I would suggest in that situation.
We can't run I can't talk to you either.
It's very contagious.
We can't run red lights either. We have to come to a complete stop before and make sure it's safe before we go through.
Yes. When does speed camera coming to the highway? I'd love to see it installed next week. I think that'd be very interesting. I think the machine would set on fire. It would be used so much. Realistically, I don't think it's coming. It was once upon a time here. We had on the DVP speed cameras many months ago.
Photo radar. They had little vans that were parked on the side there and catching speeders on the highways. They got rid of it. I think it was an election promise that they would get rid of it. And who knows what government that was that got elected, decided not to put them back in again. So.
Mark Anthony, by the way, says, I must be hard of hearing. Sorry. He apologized for back. No problem, Mark. We're here for you. Even though you could have rewound it and played it again, we're happy to talk about things. It's always good. You can ask us again tomorrow. Do you need to pay for parking with disability parking? So, depends on where you are. If you are parking in a no parking zone with a accessible parking pass, you do not need to pay parking. You're in a no parking zone and you're exempt to park there. You cannot, however, park in a no stopping or no standing zone. Now, if you are parking in a pay and display, I don't think you need to, but I'm not the right person to ask. TPS Parking, or Parking TPS, is the right account to ask on. They do lives as well. TPS underscore Urquhart. If you type in TPS underscore on TikTok, you're going to find her, and she answers these questions because she's the pro. She's the parking media relations officer.
And you know what? We were having a chat on Monday, and we'll see if we can get her on the show a little bit more. Maybe on Fridays.
I think that's a good idea.
You know what? There's an awful lot of questions, especially surrounding parking and ticketing, because I do know that is a hot topic when you get a parking ticket. I have given people a parking ticket, and they've been more upset than getting a speeding ticket.
Well, because everyone, it was one thing when it's a moving violation, you can acknowledge that, okay, I was putting people's lives at risk by speeding. okay, hit me with a ticket. But when they say, I needed my Timmies, I needed my coffee to make the world safer.
Well, sometimes a coffee can do that. You've seen me in the morning.
Yeah. Let's see. Left lane hoggers. Why doesn't this get enforced? So there's a charge under the Highway Traffic Act that says you can't impede traffic. Unnecessary slow driving is what it's called. And if you are driving slow unnecessarily, you are eligible for that ticket. Does it get enforced frequently? You know, in Toronto, a lot of our traffic or the movement of vehicles on the highways is slow. You know, and when it's not slow, it's a lot of people breaking the law going out way too fast. So when you say left lane hogger, is it someone who's traveling the speed limit in the left lane, or is someone driving well below the speed limit? Because I would have a hard time issuing a ticket to someone who was traveling at the speed limit in the left lane, even though that left lane is for passing, and even though you're not allowed to legally exceed the speed limit in order to pass. So, yeah, if you're not passing, everyone should be out of the left lane, and there's a reason for that. Police, fire, and ambulance are legally allowed to speed, and they may need to get somewhere faster. So not hanging out there is a good thing. But why isn't it enforced?
Well, there is a separate section there to failing to facilitate passing. So if you're on purpose blocking somebody from a legal pass, you can get charged for that as well.
And I wonder if that's, where you slow down to match the speed of the person beside you just to be that person. I've never laid that charge. I've never laid either one of them, actually. It just hasn't happened. It hasn't come. I think it's mostly because we're in bumper-to-bumper traffic everywhere. Okay. My husband was given a court date 2 years ago, and I'm assuming that date has come and gone. There have been delays as a result of COVID. I would contact the courthouse and find an update because I don't know I haven't been involved in that conversation. Have they been sending out updated new dates? Do you know offhand, Sarge?
I think each courthouse is different, and you would have to seek some legal advice if it's been 2 years. That is kind of long. I know there was exemptions to the Section 11B of the Charter of Rights for a right to an expedient trial because of the COVID that came in, but I don't know what the time frames those exceptions are applicable to. So contact the courthouse, see if it's still an ongoing case. It might have been dismissed without you even knowing it.
And there you go. So first find out if it's valid, and then based on the information you get to see if it's still before the courts, you might want to seek some independent legal advice. If I have my G1 and I get pulled over, what do I do? Well, you comply with the directions of the police officer, and it'll usually start with, may I have your license, ownership, and insurance? Hopefully, and I say hopefully almost sarcastically, you're only allowed to drive a motor vehicle with a G1 if you're accompanied by a qualified G driver in the passenger seat, in the front seat. So assuming you're following all the rules, they're going to be there, and you're going to be legit. Whatever you did, you'll have to then discuss with the police officer, but you need to surrender your license, ownership, and insurance, and of course, be with that accompanying driver. If you don't, you're going to have other problems, like not being able to drive home, and possibly having to get a tow truck, and a whole bunch of charges. So, with that, it's 5 after 11. We've had our first extra large 1.5 hour episode, and we're done. We're done. But tomorrow we'll be back. At 10 o'clock till 11 o'clock, we're doing the late segment. We did a survey. Over, I think, 800 people said they wanted a 10 o'clock show. So for this week, we're doing 10 o'clock shows.
I don't like it.
You know, it feels weird.
I don't like it. I don't like change.
No.
No.
But maybe this is the new time. Maybe it should always be 10
This is
o'clock.
the new norm?
I don't know. The summer, it'll be the same, I think.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, let us know what you think. We appreciate this thing. Also, check the video I put up. When did I put it up? I put it up before we went live. And it is a video of a Maserati doing something strange. What do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Bye, TikTok.
Wow. New closing sound.
You know what? It's royalty free.
And this is my type of music.
Do you play?
I know, but I do enjoy listening.
Oh, I can show this. It's not bad. I don't know if I could do hours of this.
Yeah,
If you could see Sgt Campbell, he's just going with the music. I like it. Do you have lyrics to go with this?
No, I think we need to get some.
If you are a creator, if you're a musician, you should be creating something for us. We'd love to use your outro music or intro music or sidro music or sound effects. Let us know. I think that would be a really fun thing to have a community content thing. Ryan Pin says 12 Bar Blues.
Oh, there you go.
Kayla Dracona says private property parking with an accessible permit does require payment. Something we forgot to mention and is very true. All right, folks, we're out. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.